Welcome back to the Geometric View, episode 43, season 4. Yeah, today we're going to get into the cosmic turtle, or the world turtle. This is a concept well documented and known all across the world. So we're going to really get into it, and I'm excited. I put a presentation together. We'll see you there. Thanks for being here. Let's get into it. The best way to support us is on PayPal, goldenscaling@gmail.com. Thank you. Oh yeah, hey. Well, yeah, I'm a little Irish there too, so
that's a wee bit Irish, by.
Well,
there's a lot of Irish in Newfoundland, so, and German.
Yep, I'm Newfoundland, Irish and German too. Finnish, Irish and German. I didn't know we had the same blood, son.
Well, I'm Dutch. Well, so that's Nordic too. So
okay, I don't think I have Dutch, but I didn't do any DNA testing. This was just, what my parents say.
Yeah, family trees and stuff.
It is about as much as you can get. So I did this painting here. I'll get out of the way. I'm working on it right now. It's a work in progress. It's hard to see. Not the best lighting.
A lot of blues and greens kind of meld together.
Yeah, it's better with lighting being backlit.
I see some yellows and purples.
It's a batik, so it's on a canvas.
Oh, okay.
So
very nice, very nice.
Yeah. Always got the sage going as usual. Hang on, I didn't hit the Palo Santo. All right, here we go. All right. Well, welcome to the Geometric View, everybody. This is episode 43, season 4. And we are going to get into the cosmic turtle, the world turtle, and how this has to do with, from a interdisciplinary understanding and approach to what this has to do with psychology, astronomy, astrology, mathematics, physics, world beliefs, and how actually our brains, like mental health. This episode gets really deep. I wasn't expecting to get so into so many different things, but yeah, I put together a presentation, and we're about to see some weird correlations as to why throughout society in different places this idea of the universe or the world being composed of turtles stacked on top of turtles all the way down. So this came to me, of course, through the Dougherty set and the Dougherty Network, because I seen the correlations with the geometry of the turtle everywhere, and there's openings in the turtle too. So it's like there's a shell, and there's a lens where the opening is of the between as the turtles stack on top of each other. So let me share my screen, share the whole screen, and I'm going to jump right into the presentation. All right. Well, this is our episode today. Turtles all the way down. The cosmic or world turtle. All right. Now this is the map that really got me inspired for this idea. And then I realized that it was a thing, and then I heard about it, and then I'm like, wait a minute. What is going on here? So this is the core, what I would call a gate. And the gate, well, the center gate leading to the nucleus, which can be considered as the throne, or stillness, the center of everything, where everything comes out of. On an atomic scale, this exists. On a micro scale, on a macro scale, there is these pinch points. But anyway, it's phase conjugate, but I get into that a little bit later. So what I do with the Dougherty set, which is this map out here, which is hydrodynamic geometry, magnetohydrodynamic geometry, among many other things. It just describes networks and systems as they progress outward and get more intricate with more detail, efficiency, energy, and I guess more dense with information as it goes out further from the source. So anyway, I took this lens right here, and let me get my golden caliper here, because I know this is, I didn't even add the golden mean here. The golden mean is the top of this line to this line to the bottom line. So as it splices right here, it's the divine cut. It's called the divine cut or golden cut, where it's in proportion of the golden mean and phase conjugate all the way down. That's the only way that we get systems that grow off of each other, and biological entities inside of systems, and system informatics, and how living organisms can only exist inside of certain size vessels. Now, this is Jeffrey West's research with scale, and he's been named, like, I think, top 50 most influential people for businesses and companies and everything, because of the information that he and his teams, hundreds of people, have gathered, just ridiculous amounts of information about the system dynamics of the internal guts systems of all creatures, which is basically just their size ratio to their internal bone structure, and everything seems to follow this logarithmic scale invariant geometry here. So creatures unfold, and as well as light comes into our eyes using this inverse square law. And so the unfolding of these creatures, and really, I'll get into that later, but this kind of gets us going into this. And plus, I want to describe as much as I can about this map while it's up, because I can describe it later, but it doesn't come up for a little bit, because we get into a lot of the history and other things, the physics about it and stuff. So let's see here. You can see that this pinch point right here, whoops, okay, I didn't know if I could zoom in or not. This pinch point right here and this pinch point right here, where they bend, where the lenses bend, and it becomes, I guess these are foci right here. They're not quite touching the center. None of these are quite touching these centers, because these energies here, when you push, when they're formed, as they cascade offward or outward, that there's a space between here, and I get all these patterns just by tracing the circles, patterns that are inherent in here. So turtles all the way down, inherent within the Dougherty network, and we'll get into infinite regress and infinite progress and geometric progression, plenty of other fun things. And this is geometric progression, but what you see here, and this is, as you stack them, you get this pine cone type of shape, and we will revisit that and talk about that here momentarily. And why turtles all the way down? You know, turtles, whether it's big turtles on the top or little turtles going up. this is just super strange. So I took this geometry, and you can see here it is spinning, and the triad in the singular. So C is the same as J here. And then you do every other turtle shell, and you stack them here like this, and they stack naturally, and they create this hyperbolic lens. So these are hyperbolic structures, and that's just things that are made of not straight lines. So, oh, sorry. All right. Yeah, I can, as we go through, I can touch more on this into the episode here. So the world turtle. The world turtle, also referred to as the cosmic turtle or the world-bearing turtle, is a mytheme of a giant turtle or tortoise supporting or containing the world. The mytheme, which I think is like a myth meme, which is, I've just come across this word, so, which is similar to that of the world elephant and the Hindu world serpent, not to be confused with the Norse world serpent, occurs in Hindu mythology, Chinese mythology. So this world turtle here occurs in Hindu mythology, Chinese mythology, and the mythologies of the indigenous peoples of the Americas. This world turtle concept, or turtles all the way down, is prevalent
Buddy,
all over.
I would just like to add that Raymond said that the Chinese wrote on tortoise shells and then threw them in the fire. I think prayers and things like that on tortoise shells, and they threw them into fire to take them to the gods, kind of thing, those prayers. I think they were prayers,
Okay.
or incantations or something.
I found a cool tortoise shell or turtle shell when I was walking one day. It was all bleached out, totally white. And I tried to electrocute it, of course. I tried to fractal brand on it. And it didn't work. But yeah, it does work on a lot of other bones. So the structure of it, the microstructure of the shell must have been.
Well, the shell is not a bone. The shell are plates of
Not cartilage.
same material as your fingernail.
Cartilage, yeah.
Not cartilage, no. What's that?
Not cartilage. Why did I say cartilage? Wrong word. Calcium. I know there's a lot of calcium. I forget the word of it. Okay, so yeah, this is all over. So we're going to go into what it says here, the Hindu world serpent and the Norse world serpent here next. Hindu's world serpent. Shisha, Sanskrit sisa, also known as Shisha. I don't want to botch that. And I don't want to botch that either, is the Nagaraja, or king of the Nagas, and one of the primal beings of creation. In the Purananas, Shisha is said to hold all the planets of the universe on his hoods, and to constantly sing the glories of the god Vishnu from his mouths. He is sometimes referred to as Ananta, Ananta, and Shisha, Ananta Shisha, which translates as endless Shisha or Adisha Shisha. First, Shisha, it is said that when Adishisha uncoils, time moves forward. This is awesome. And creation takes place. When he coils back, the universe ceases to exist. And this is talking about implosion and explosion, and the coiling of think of electromagnetic or mechanical engineering and things like that. I mean, this is like what is it? Inertia. You pull your arms in, and you get faster, and you push your arms out, and you grow. So this also is reminiscent of the vortexture and the geometry inside of the Dougherty set and the Dougherty networks. So Vishnu is often depicted as resting on Shisha. Shisha is considered a devotee or bhakt of. I couldn't see back. It's not letting me see it. All right. So the Norse word serpent. The Norse world serpent is next. So that's really cool, that concept. I want to touch on that actually at the end here. Yeah. We'll touch on that more in the geometry here. So
Yeah, your fingernails are made of keratin, so is the turtle's back.
keratin, collagen, close. Okay. All right, keratin. Same as a rhinoceros tusk, an elephant tusk. That's ivory. That's different, right? Yeah, that's different.
Yeah.
But I wonder about a narwhal. What that's all about and made of. Wouldn't that be cool to be walking around with a narwhal thing? Staff? That's my narwhal staff. Get your hands off of it. Okay, so into the Norse world serpent. In Norse mythology, Jormungandr, Old Norse Jormungandr, pronounced Jormungandr. Jormungandr. I knew you would know that. Okay, you've probably heard this. This is all new to me. So Jormungandr means huge monster, also known as the Midgard world serpent. Old Norse Mythology is a sea serpent, the middle child of the giantess Angroba and Loki. According to the Prose Edda, Odin took Loki, 3 children by Angroboa, the wolf Fenrir, Hel, or Heel, and Jormungandr, and tossed Jormungandr into the great ocean that encircles Midgard. The serpent grew so large that it was able to surround the earth and grasp its own tail. As a result, it received the name of the Leviathan, or world serpent, which is cool because that, I didn't put Christian ethos much in here at all with it, but.
And those are the rings that were destroyed when the Earth captured the moon. The Earth had rings like Saturn. Not as pronounced, but we had rings.
Wow. So that is perfectly exactly what you're talking about, it seems like here. And because okay, I was listening to a Hopi, this is a side thing, but I was listening to a Hopi myths, and they came out of the ground, and they looked up, and they saw God, and God was in the sky, and it was wrapped around the earth. And that reminds me of this. And it was like eating its tail. There was a certain word that they had for it. I didn't put it in here because I was just still learning. But okay, it received the name Leviathan, which is also referred to in the scriptures, in the Bible, or world serpent. Wow. When it releases its tail, Ragnarok will begin. Thunder! So I hope that wasn't too loud, but Ragnarok will begin. What does that mean? So Jormungandr's arch enemy is the thunder god. And this is the stuff we've been talking about since the beginning of these episodes. And I can't believe I'm just now learning this. It's so cool that it all fits together. Like, oh, just going to wrap this episode up here with turtle stacking. Oh, and it all has to do with this. So anyway, Thor. It is an example of an Ouroboros. So we've done Ouroboros.
Ragnarok is the final destruction of the world, by the way.
Okay, so that's like Armageddon. Holy crap. Man,
yes, sir.
That hits home base. Well, we're talking about the thunder and the ingredients of thunder and nutrients of thunder and all this other fun stuff and the Thunderbolts project and getting into it with what is a circuit, what's the geometry of it, what's the geometry of all this,
We know that statement that when when the serpent releases his tail, in other words, disappears and goes away, that Ragnarok rock was supposed to happen. It didn't. It may have happened for them. A lot of people died, but I don't think it happened in quite the way that they envisioned the end of the world. So
I think it's always happening, and I watched this episode of
and Ragnarok might have been not rings like Saturn, but it might have even been the Van Allen belts lighting up in glow mode.
oh, good Lord.
It could have been that as well. I mean,
Well, that's what we would
or
see
instead of.
we looked out, we would see that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we would see is the Van Allen belts glowing. Dude, and that's like the whole completion of the theory of sonobiology and electrosonic genesis.
And that kind of makes more sense than a ring encompassing the Earth, like a fragile ring. It makes more sense that it might be the Van Allen belts initiating from what they are now in dark mode, being lit up into glow mode.
Yeah. And that's a very simple thing for people to wrap their minds around if you can understand the filamentry of the filaments of a light bulb, you know. Well, actually, it's kind of hard to wrap your mind around it, but that way, because that's a different way of looking at it. But yeah, you add charge to the system, and charge surges through the system, and stuff's going to start glowing all over,
and
everywhere.
it's gonna be forced into the gaps of the double layers of our atmosphere, or not atmosphere, atmosphere and magnetic fields, into those high energy areas, and an addition of energy, like you just said, would turn those from dark mode into glow mode, and there would
Yeah.
be a lot of short circuiting between those double layers,
Well,
sending energy to the Earth itself.
they've been doing a lot of ionic testing of ionic streams and plasma flows with different chemicals and the ionosphere. And I don't know if we can do that same kind of game play out in the Van Allen belts, but that would be really interesting to send a probe out there and do something like put something out there, a charge or something where you would be able to let them glow like this. We're talking future technologies maybe, but being able to amplify the sun, but I was thinking today of collectively getting together and working with different storms, with storm chasers. I definitely want to go do storm chasing for sure. That's one of the things I want to do. They offer that here in the United States. It's actually pretty cheap too to go and do it for a week or so. But yeah, inducing storms with, intentions and working with the weather and stuff. And I don't know, it could be really dangerous. But anyway, so turtles all the way down. Cute little baby turtles. Okay, turtles all the way down is an expression of the problem of infinite regress. The saying alludes, which we will be getting into a lot later and more. The saying alludes to the mythological idea of a world turtle that supports the flat earth on its back. It suggests that this, and not necessarily flat earth, but a domed type of earth. It suggests that this turtle rests on the back of an even larger turtle, which itself is part of a column of increasingly large world turtles that continues infinitely, i.e., turtles all the way down. So we can see that there's an explanation. It's not much of an explanation, but an explanation of why the turtles do this is they pile on top of each other to get exposed to more sun rays. They do this in order to receive as much UV as they can, also for warmth. So that makes a lot of sense too. I was just watching another nature channel a moment ago, and this mom duck kept going under the water, and abandoning the baby duck, because the baby duck had to get used to not coddling on mom's back inside of her warm feathers. So she had to teach the kid that way, like, you got to get off my back, kid. So this idea of infinite regress or infinite, like, progressive systems, we're going to show the genealogy of it too, and how humans multiply and things like that. It's very curious thought, and when we look at it, we can see kind of a relationship as to why people talk about this, and why, because turtles are worldwide, as far as I know, and for the most part, sea turtles might be the turtles around other Arctic places. I don't really know about Arctic turtles, but for the most part, turtles are in all of these places that are mentioned earlier that have these mythos, or these ideas of the world turtle and cosmic turtle. And we're going to get into what the heck this all is in a minute here. So I showed here that a pine tree does the exact same thing and resumes the same shape as this, so as to receive as much light, and so does a pine tree and a pine cone. So,
well, if you look at the structure of a pine cone, it's actually a spiral.
yep, it spirals. I'm sure some of them are facing one direction, some of them are facing the other. So there could be alternating currents going on here. But yeah, it's a spiral. Yep, all of this is spiral. The whole thing is conical. The whole thing is cylindrical, collimated cylindrical sheaths, counter-rotating sheaths, as Dr. Donald Scott points out. And all of this is already inherent in here. So I'm showing off more, just as much as I can find and as much as I can show.
I'm wondering if this shape was seen in the heavens and actually is a torus field,
Well,
on its side or something like that.
it is a torus field. I'm gonna show you the Van Allen belts in a minute here, and the Van Allen belts inside the Dougherty set looks the same. So we could have seen this in the heavens. So we thought turtles all the way down, tortoises all the way down.
Right. Yeah.
Especially with sundog.
When they talk about cosmic turtle, then Turtle Island is, what the North Americans referred to North America as.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, dude.
No shit.
It was referred to as Turtle Island, the North American continent.
Wow. I didn't get to that part of the research. I wish I would have put that into the slides. So that's something that I need to add to the slide.
Let me do a research on that and give you a link.
Well, I saw it in my research. I just didn't click on it. I didn't have as much time as I wanted to give myself. So I didn't get to that point. So North America as a turtle, let's talk about that. And let's talk about the Great Lakes being formed in Michigan during a huge plasma event, and how that going upward could look like turtles as it emanates in the plasma etheric field in the atmosphere outwards, maybe for a while, maybe that is the cosmic turtle. And I don't know. Yeah, these are all new ideas. I didn't put this astronomy in here as much as because I knew you'd be on it, Rick.
Well, let me read this. Let me read this to you. Turtle Island is a name for Earth, or for North America, used by some U.S. Indigenous and First Nations people, and by some Indigenous rights activists. The name is based on a common North American Indigenous creation story. Go ahead.
Wow. See.
So where else did you said China had the turtle thing going on too, right?
Yeah. We can look into China because I haven't looked at that. Yeah, if you want to pull that one up, I will read this if you want to look into the China myth, because the race to China, that one song that's out, Megan the stallion. I don't know. What's going on out there? Oh, all right. Okay, so early variants of the saying. So origins of turtle all the way down. This is like the epistemology of it or whatever. Early variants of the saying do not always have explicit references to infinite regression, i.e., the phrase all the way down. They often reference stories featuring a world elephant, world turtle, or other similar creatures that are claimed to have come from Hindu mythology. The first known reference to a Hindu source is found in a letter by Jesuit, and I don't know how credible this is either, Emmanuel de Vigia, I don't know, written at Shanghai on 18th of September, and I'm not taking time trying to pronounce these, and I might know them, but
you're butchering names.
I'm butchering names. Sorry, I'm just moving through this. I wish I knew the pronunciations better. So the words are on the screen.
You're American. You're forgiven.
On 18th of September 1599, in which the relevant passage reads, this guy.
All right. Well, I just found some information. India, China, and North America have the cosmic turtle story. So it's halfway across the entire globe.
So those areas are in the latitudes of the northern hemisphere, and they're all around. A lot of them aren't equatorial. They're northern latitude, right?
India is in the south. China is in the north. North America is in the north. So maybe it was only seen on one side of the planet, and for a very short time.
Well, think about the snakes with the many eyes and the
many heads.
Yeah, the many heads and the many.
That was supposed to be Venus.
You know, that's their cosmic serpent story that we were reading about. And
right, yeah, that's supposed to be the comet display of Venus wrapping around Saturn in what looked like to be feathers, like the American Indian headdress.
And the feathered serpents.
Yeah.
And
Quetzalcoatl.
Yeah.
And and the other Aztec gods, god as well. Not Aztec. Maya and the Aztec had different names for the same god. Like Saturn has over 50 different names. The same thing.
Now we're getting into
Venus
now we're getting into mostly the serpent, the cosmic serpent. I'm trying to stay centered on the turtles, but I'm kind of actually integrating a little bit of both because they're kind of similar, especially in India.
I believe they're plasma discharge.
Yes, I believe so too. And this happens, every once in a while. It's the burp. It's the burp in the soup, the cosmic soup of sonoluminescence.
Well, we know many planets displayed as they came close to other planets. Their magnetic fields lit up, went into glow mode because of the transfer of electrons and their tails touching each other and things like that in the ancient past, and not only that, throwing thunderbolts at each other as well. Probably made this shape in the heavens for a period of time.
Is add lines going this way on each one of these as a tail, and then you get the Nazca lines, you get bugs, you get discharge, you get and then you stack them on top of each other and you get the squatter man. Here's the squatter man, the arms outward, and then the line coming down, and then you do another line coming off of it. It is the top of the squatter man here. The bottom of it's not highlighted. And squatter man inside of each other, so that's another thing to think about. So yeah, plasma discharges, that's what these are. These are plasma bubbles. These are all hyperbolic, and they exist as resonant cavities inside of the heavens at all the time, whether we can see them or not, like buoyant boundaries.
Maybe a modified type of torus field.
It's all torus. The whole thing is torus, and the whole thing is toroidal. If I were to put this on the other side, you'd see, you know, but yeah, those are on many other episodes. So, William James. Many 20th century attributions claim that philosopher and psychologist William James is the source of the phrase. James referred to the fable of the elephant and the tortoise several times, but told the infinite regress story with rocks all the way down in his 1882 essay, Rationality, Activity, and Faith. I like this word here, activity and rationality, because this idea that we're talking about here is very philosophical. So it is mathematical, philosophical, cosmic. I mean, we're going to get into it here. But activity, I've seen that in a couple other spots. Like the old woman this is his quote here, like the old woman in the story who described the world as resting on a rock and then explained that rock to be supported by another rock. And finally, when pushed with questions, said it was rocks all the way down. He who believes this to be a radically moral universe must hold the moral order to rest either on an absolute and ultimate, absolute and ultimate should, or on a series of shoulds all the way down. So I butchered that sentence, but it should ultimately rest on shoulds and shoulds all the way down. Like
fractal.
It is totally fractal. I mean, antennas, fractals, antennas, geometries. So then you got this guy, Johann Gottlieb. If there is not to be any system of human knowledge dependent upon an absolute first principle, two cases are only possible. Either there is no immediate certainty at all, and then our knowledge forms many series or one infinite series, wherein each theorem is derived from a higher one, and then this again from a higher one, hierarchical orders, fractal again. We build our i.e., etc. We build our own houses on the earth. The earth rests on an elephant, the elephant on a tortoise, the tortoise again, who knows on what, and so on ad infinitum. True. And this is like the beginning of computing, because Leibniz tackles this also. But true, if our knowledge is thus constituted, we cannot alter it. But either we have then any firm knowledge, we may have gone back to a certain link of our series. We have founded everything firm up to this link. But who can guarantee us that if we go further back, we may not find it ungrounded, and shall thus have to abandon it? Our certainty is only assumed, and we can never be sure of it for a single following day. So it's based off of sureties. So sureties, guarantees, certainties, and like this is like the morality, the beginning of the first principles of truth and what is right. So
Well, go back to that for 1 second. I just wanted to sort something out here. Wherein each theorem is derived from a higher one, and this again from a higher one, etc., etc., etc. That's not i.e., etc. Sorry, I just wanted to. It's remember the Flintstones, etc., etc., etc. That's what that is.
I didn't read the sentence totally good either, but I'm
trying to. You said I.E.
Yeah.
I was like, that's definitely a T, and that's etc.
Well, maybe my 36-year-old eyes are getting a little old here.
36. I'm 57, bro, and I can read that. With glasses, obviously.
Good. I'm glad that my eyes hopefully are as good as yours at that age. So,
well, I did say glasses.
Now we get into Bertrand Russell. Bertrand Russell also mentioned the story in his 1927 lecture, Why I Am Not a Christian, while discounting the first cause argument intending to be a proof of God's existence. So this idea is getting into like, does God exist or does not God exist? Is there a series of gods or, okay, so here it is. If everything must have a cause, then God must have a cause. If there can be anything without a cause, it may just as well be the world as God. So that's like animism, which is believed in most indigenous cultures. Everything is God. There's spirits. Everything has a spirit. It's like plasma and the ether. So that there cannot be any validity in that argument. Okay. It is exactly of the same nature as the Hindu's view, that the world rested upon an elephant and the elephant rested upon a tortoise. And when they said, how about the tortoise? The Indian said, suppose we change the subject. So these thoughts, it gets you into thinking about infinities, and which brings me to infinite regress. And what this is that we're talking about, it's an infinite regression. So P1 holds. Why does P1 hold? Because P2 holds. Why does P2 hold? This is like, why is your parents born? Because your grandparents were born. Why are you born? So this is kind of like the Fibonacci sequence in a way, similar to the Fibonacci sequence, but not, because it shows that there's a arithmetic or geometric progression. So an infinite regress is a series of propositions that arise if the truth of a proposition P1 requires the support of proposition P2, the truth of proposition P2 requires the support of proposition P3, and so on, ad infinitum. My great 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 grandfather, was chosen to be the president of the United States. That wasn't told to me until I was really old, but it doesn't matter. I don't care. That's not here or there. We all have crazy ancestry. We all have crazy history, and this gets into genetics and quaternion filaments and so on and so on. So thinking of the turtles on top of turtles in a philosophy of mind and a philosophical view, Gilbert Ryle argues in the philosophy of mind that mind-body dualism is implausible because it produces an infinite regress of inter-observers. And this could be what the Hindus were talking about. But when trying to explain how mental states are able to influence physical states. Does this make sense to you, Rick? This part? I'm trying to make sense. I put it in here, but I'm trying to wrap my mind around it. Is this saying that that if you start dividing your mind-body duality, there's an infinite amount of like slivers of different personalities and inner observers and infinite regress?
Oh,
I forgot philosophy class. I forget the
don't.
mind-body dualism.
I'm not sure what this is saying, to tell you the truth.
Me neither.
Some of this philosophy and theoretical thinking is a little bit beyond me, especially when you get into aspects of the mind.
Yeah.
It to me it's a lot of gobbledygook.
I put it in here because it has to do with it. So if someone out there can find it, please comment. Let us know about this philosophy or about Gilbert Riley's. I mean, I forget. Maybe I'm forgetting the mind-body dualism problem in philosophy. But what I'm seeing is that there's this dualism here that's also creating these channels of layers on top of layers.
Well, you see, this dualism might be our bicameral mind, where our mind was unified more than it is now, and it's more split, and we're having conversations between the two hemispheres to come to some kind of agreement so that we perceive this thing this way. It's and or you know, more thinking of me as opposed to we. In the past, I think it was more we. It was more like an ant colony. Like humanity was more like an ant colony, and people had basically they had jobs, and they wouldn't they wouldn't have the drive to um, become better or to advance themselves like we do now. Maybe only a few people, maybe it was only the Rh negative people that had that drive, and they had been they've been on the earth now for so long that they'd spread that drive, those genetic cues, into the rest of the human population. And we're all like that now, or most of us are like that now. There are a lot of people out there that don't have drive.
Yeah.
So
You're saying people with Rh negative blood have more drive?
That's where the drive originated from. I wouldn't say that they have more.
Oh.
I would think maybe the bicameral mind grew out of that kind of thinking. I don't know. I'm just, again, when it comes to philosophy and the mind, and it's a really complex thing to even,
for me, it's a bunch of birkeland
think about. Not mean talk about.
For me, it's a bunch of birkeland currents, the same geometry. All of our orifices are vortices, and our bones are the same vortices. All golden mean, structurally perfect for resonance and to amplify your signature in the universe.
Right.
But
and do the brain cells actually hold memory, or do they transmit memory and are able to, if you activate that brain cell, pull that memory back out of the ether?
Well, how many turtles can you imagine on top of each other is kind of what it gets down to, you know. And then what they're saying is, by the time you get to the last tortoise on top of it, another tortoise, what is it? And then you change the subject, because turtles all the way down, rocks all the way down, you know. And this is part of the infinite regress, the infinite regression in the mind philosophy of it, where if you're, it creates a duality inside of your body and your mind, like I think what you're saying, yeah, where it can create this cascade of people to want to produce things, or a cascade of people to infinitely regress and smoke more cigarettes, do more, I guess, carnal, worldly things, instead of focusing on higher
Spiritual things,
mind things that last forever, eternity, building riches in the kingdom, like in the heavens. Yeah, these, I think, yeah, it is, these plasma resonant forms that are out there that ancients communicated with and we can communicate with. And, I mean, I don't get into astral projection. I've heard a lot of people talking about that and communicating with the ancestors and stuff, but the Bible says it's real. It says don't partake in necromancy, speaking to the dead. But I don't. So I mean, that's like acknowledging it and saying that don't do it.
The Bible I view as a control system. That's why I'm not a Christian, but I do believe in God, that there is a creator of everything that we see, and it's everywhere and in everything, just like they tell us. But then they take the story and they fabricate stuff like the devil and hell, and you'll burn in this pool of fire forever and ever, amen, kind of thing. That's not, no, I don't see it that way. But I mean, again, it goes to the control mechanisms that are placed on us all that we don't realize are there.
Well, it's imprinting, and what are the other words? It's social imprinting, and when you
Programming.
Yeah, you program someone. It's how they're raised, you know.
Yeah, you make them follow these rules that, I mean, you only need one bloody rule in life: do unto others. That's the only rule you need to live by. If you do unto others as you would have them do unto you, you don't want them to be aggressive and fighting with you, so why would you do that to somebody else?
Some people like fighting, so that's where the rule comes in. Like, if you want
Well,
to fight, you go out and you
that's the
find the fighters, right? Like Joe
that's
Rogan, and you start a
that's the
program.
carrying on of the PTSD that humanity carries, and that not only affects them, but if it affects the people that they're projecting it on, and it keeps the cycle going and going and going and going.
So this
You know,
gets into causality and first causes and initial conditions.
well, the
And
initial condition was the fact that just about everybody on the planet got wiped out. Maybe 3,000 survivors across the whole face of the earth left to carry on. Not only that, 120 megafauna species had disappeared, probably most likely changed into the smaller
we went under,
variety of animals that we see today, like small
and
lions that were
Hopi
way
Indians.
smaller than the original ones.
Yeah, we were underground. We're boring creatures. We're naturally ground faring, boring creatures into the ground. We bore, and this is in all sorts of different creation stories. And Hopi Indians, they were
Well, I
talking
think
about
I
their
think we went
story begins.
underground
Hang
to
on,
get away
their story
from.
begins with them coming out of the ground
Well,
and
I,
and
I think
numbers.
I think their story is beginning at the end of the destruction event. I think there was
Yeah,
more
yeah, they came
creation.
out of the
There's a
ground.
creation story before that,
Yeah, nobody
even.
knew anything before that. They came out of the ground. Maybe they have more stories before that, but their story starts with them spiraling out of the ground in multitudes because it was time to come up. And then they saw God, and God was in the air and like a bunch of other stuff. I wasn't able to get it all or digest it.
Read it
So,
again.
so yeah, I know, right? Or, well, that's the problem. I was listening to it and I was also working. Um,
Oh, that's not conducive for learning.
well, no, I do it all the time.
It might be conducive for creativity, but it's not
Yeah.
conducive for learning.
Or retaining knowledge. So,
Well, that's learning.
oh yeah, we
If
can
if
get
you if
down
you
that
if you
hole.
let the knowledge slip through, then that's not learning.
Yeah, you didn't learn.
You didn't learn, son.
Okay, so libertarian free will. This is attached to it. Similarities of things that are similar. Some forms of libertarianism assert that human actions, do not have causes and are chosen consciously, i.e., are not random. This assertion raises the question, what are these conscious decisions based on? Since they can't be based on nothing, as the possibility of decisions being random is excluded, this question can be asked for each subsequent answer or answer to it, thus forming an infinite regress.
No, I got an answer for that one. It's called free will and choice.
Um,
Choice. There's always choice on this world. There's choice to be good. There's choice to be bad. There's choice to live in the dark. There's choice to be in the light. There's choice to.
and a connectivity that happens.
And that's why we ask for timelines and ages and
Yep.
how and because it makes us feel better.
And check this out. Exactly. Self-esteem. That is 100% right. You just hit it right there. That's what I was going at. Self-esteem is built off of you knowing your ancestry, who your grandma is, who you're getting to know your siblings and everybody. So you know that you have a place that you fit in the world. Pharaoh-minded people who roam nomadically have honestly feral people. They they're non-communicative and they behave like animals. And it's strange. You can look at all the research of what happens to feral people that have no human communication. Most of the times, the animals will pick them up and take them on, and the animals will raise them in the animal kingdom, like
Yeah.
Mowgli.
I sent you a text message there, buddy. If you could read that, and I'll just
I
let
can't
you
pop
know.
out. Oh, or I can't pop out right now of the presentation.
Oh, when you get a chance.
All
It's
right.
just that I won't be responding for a good long while.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll continue here with the presentation.
Yep,
And
that was my plan.
sounds good. All right. So we went through that a little bit. Now we're going to get into first cause and initial conditions. First cause in the book, the what, five, six, eighth, yeah, eighth of his physics, Aristotle examines the notion of change or motion and attempts to show, by a challenging argument, that the mere supposition of a before and an after requires a first principle. He argues that in the beginning, if the cosmos had come to be, its first motion would lack an antecedent state. And as Parmenides said, nothing comes from nothing. The cosmological argument, later attributed to Aristotle, thereby draws the conclusion that God exists. However, the cosmos had a beginning. Aristotle argued it would require an efficient first cause, a notion that Aristotle took to demonstrate a critical flaw. So goes back to first principles, causation, God existing, bringing this into the philosophical circles of the same idea of well then what's the turtle? What's before the turtle? What's before God then? If God is a God, then what's the God of gods? God before that God. But that in Hindu culture is cyclical God that has to do with Indras and yuga cycles. So the unmoved mover, and here it is, infinity, cause, 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 cause. The unmoved mover, or first uncaused cause or mover of all motion in the universe. As is implicit in the name, the unmoved mover moves other things, but is not itself moved by any prior action. And this reminds me of Walter Russell's stillness, God existing in the stillness, still magnetic white light. In Book 12 of his Metaphysics, Aristotle describes the unmoved mover as being perfectly beautiful, indivisible, and contemplating only the perfect contemplation, self-contemplation. He equates this concept also with the active, which also, if we take that concept, which he talks about here, the unmovable mover as perfect contemplation, self-contemplation, and it refers to when we go to heaven, we only learn more and more and more about the creator. We become part of the creator's mind to learn more and help him self understand himself, self-referential systems. He equates this concept also with the active intellect. Active, there's that word again, active, action, active intellect, keeping it going, always learning more. The Aristotelian concept had its roots in cosmological speculations of the earliest Greek pre-Socratic philosophers and became highly influential and widely drawn upon in medieval philosophy and theology. So, initial conditions. Cosmology and theology. A cosmological argument in natural theology and natural philosophy, not cosmology, is an argument in which the existence of God is inferred from alleged facts concerning causation, explanation, change, motion, contingency, dependency, or finitude with respect to the universe or some totality of objects. So, like a cosmological constant, what Einstein was trying to get to and prove. It is traditionally known as an argument from universal causation, an argument from first cause, or the causal argument. So we take the idea of the world turtle, and it goes down all the way, and it gets to this idea philosophically of nothing comes from nothing. The basic premise of all these arguments involve the concept of causation. The conclusion of these arguments is first cause, which for whichever group of things it is being argued must have a cause or explanation, subsequently deemed to be God. The history of this argument goes back to Aristotle, or earlier was developed in Neoplatonism and early Christianity, and later in medieval Islamic theology during the 9th and 12th centuries, and was reintroduced to medieval Christian theology in the 13th century by Thomas Aquinas. The cosmological argument is closely related to the principle of sufficient reason as addressed by Gottfried Leibniz and Samuel Clarke, itself a modern exposition of the claim that nothing comes from nothing, again attributed to Parmenides. Mathematically, it can be looked at as a Hopf vibration in a way, because you start to create the charge or the motion, the electricity moving through creates the magnetic field. And correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, that's what we're learning in as much as the right-hand rule and electromagnetism. And these Hopf vibrations form, so out of nowhere, nothing, it forms out of nothing. And look at the shape of it. It looks like a turtle stacked on top of a turtle, stacked on top of a turtle. So this geometry of this, or also it looks like the fields that we were talking about, the Van Allen belts. And here's the Earth. Put the Earth in the center, and you got the Van Allen belts. So this type of basic geometry is a spinor or a Hopf vibration from Roger Penrose, introduced by Roger Penrose, I think way back in the 70s. And anyway, so I'll continue here. It looks, I just noticed that it looks like turtles stacked on top of each other. So I'm going to have to highlight that later. Creatio ex nihilos is an idea found in certain faiths. It means that a creator God created the world from nothing, without any conditions. It is the opposite of creatio ex materia. This short article about religion can be made much longer. Okay, Xeno's paradoxes. Xeno's paradoxes are a set of philosophical problems generally thought to have been devised by philosopher Xeno of Elea to support Parmenides, there he is again, doctrine that contrary to the evidence of one's senses, the belief in plurality and change is mistaken, and in particular, the motion is nothing, and in particular, that motion is nothing but an illusion. Okay, look at how long ago this is, and this is like Walter Russell thinking. Motion is an illusion, everything being an elusive, the holographic type fractality, holofractal universe we live in. It is usually assumed based on Plato's Parmenides that Xeno took on the project of creating these paradoxes because other philosophers had created paradoxes against Parmenides' view. Thus, Plato has Xeno say the purpose of the paradoxes is to show that their hypotheses that existences are many, if properly followed up, leads to still more absurd results than the hypothesis that they are one. Plato has Socrates claim that Xeno and Parmenides were essentially arguing the exact same thing. Geometric progression. Okay, this is 1/2. This is 1/3. This is 1/4. Sorry. This is 1/3. And this is 1/2. So In mathematics, a geometric progression, and this is how everything unfolds from these quaternion loops and these quaternion turtles rotating in space, cosmic turtles that we were talking about, that we see as plasmoids and plasma entities throughout times and throughout mythos and creation stories. In mathematics, a geometric progression, also known as a geometric sequence, is a sequence of numbers that where each term after the first is founded by multiplying the previous one by a fixed non-one number called the common ratio. For example, the sequence 2, 6, 18, 54 is a geometric progression with the common ratio 3. Similarly, 10, 5, 2.5, 1.25 is a geometric sequence with the common ratio 1/2. So this unfolding is the same thing as 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64. So it has this progression to it. Seen here, we can ruminate on all the ideas of the pine cone, the turtle stacking to receive the light from all directions, geometric progression. It seems as though the concepts in philosophy, mathematics, theology, geometry, and also creation myths, legends, and folklore can all be reflected as though somehow we inherently know it to be the same shape of turtles on top of turtles. Turtles all the way up and turtles all the way down. And we see this in species, in speciation, and creatures and creature stacking. It's mimicry all the way up, all the way down. And we envisioned this in so many different cultures, whether we saw it in the sky or not, as this idea that can be explained as these turtles stacking. So geometric sequence is the same thing pretty much as geometric progression. It just doubles. Quaternion loops and quaternion filaments do the same thing, which is how these creatures are created out of this electric soup, this plasma ether, these filaments. Phi is the solution to arithmetic and geometric progression. Dan Winter shows us, and I wish I would have put how prevalent the golden ratio is on all this, but that's part of the game. That's part of the universe game of going through all this and with your own golden mean caliper and finding how everything connects through this golden threads, everything is transparent golden scaling, transparent golden scaling. Geometric progression and filaments. Now, these are the geometric progression of the breakdown of simple, regular polygons, a square, a triangle, a pentagram, octagon, and you rotate them inside of each other, and it creates this Bessel function ripple. And the sun is Bessel function ripple, repeating this Bessel function over and over and over and over, reiteratively beaming out the same exact, which is why everything is one. And it seems like turtles stacking on top of turtles all the way down, because this geometric soup creates a soup. It creates this idea, because we're all biologically connected into the grid through our DNA and through space DNA, space weather, plasma tubes. This simple repetition of this produces the logarithmic or the inverse square law, and that's what all matter and gravity and light and electromagnetism and sonic induction and everything works off of. It's just this one, but there's so many more infinite amount of geometric progressive filaments that you can show, and they're all projective geometries, and they all create new coordinates that show different space dynamics. Plasmoids pinch at certain places and whatnot. So this is, you can envision here what I'm talking about is this is the ether and pushing a tube through it. This would be the field aligned current, or the dielectric inertial plane or stillness or the fulcrum. And this is 3 gates facing to the east, and this is 3 gates facing to the north. Never eat sour watermelons. Got that one right. All right, so I'm going to wrap this up with the umbilical nature of humans out of humans all the way down. And this Alex Gray, beautiful painting done by Alex Gray with a human inside of DNA coiling all the way down through ever and ever and ever through other humans, taking this idea into ancestral mathematics. And in order to be born, you need 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, 16 second great-grandparents, 32 great-great-grandparents, 64 fourth great-grandparents. And then it goes like this. This is these filaments of these biological stew that we're made of. It's not some sort of a simulated reality that DC Comics and Disney is telling you about. It's an actual 2-way living organic system, and we're all plugged in. And the gold is formed inside of the cavities of the earth, literally through electric currents, telluric currents moving through the earth. This is all tied into us, where everything's tied into it. It's not all explosion. It's explosive and implosive. So omni-explosive, omni-expansive, omni-explosive. For you to be born today from 12 previous generations, you need a total of 4,094 ancestors over the last 400 years. That's crazy. So for the past 400 years, we have everybody alive pretty much has that many ancestors. So what does it say down here? Think for a minute. How many struggles, how many battles, how many difficulties, how much sadness, happiness, the love stories, expressions for hope for the future did all of these ancestors have to undergo for you to exist in this present moment? How endearing. Another one from Alex Gray. Title unknown. And then we're back to the turtle. Cosmic turtle took us all over. A lot of places that our mind doesn't like to go, a lot of uncomfortable places that we don't like to think about. But this is really what fractals are, and recursion and iterations, iterative processes of life stacking, creature stacking. All the soil is nothing but dead creatures stacked on top of dead creatures, stacked on top of dead living things. That's what makes up the soil. That's what makes up, a lot of the soil anyway, not all of it, but it builds a lot of biomass for sure every year. So I'm gonna escape out of the presentation and see if Ramon or Rick are there. Hop around here. Go back to Skype. Images. Oh, I want to go to chat. All right. Well, let me get some pictures rolled up here because I said I wanted to go through. Here's some images of the tubes that I didn't get to in the other episode when we were talking about tubes and plasma and what lives in them. But even here, you can see the tops of the turtle is the torus, tortoise, toroidal forest, torus, tortoise. Okay, now this is all very so similar, and these channels carry information. Channels come from the sun, carry information through these tubes, through peristalsis, moving information and planets and rearranging them, planetary rearrangement. causing creatures to live. Here's the Van Allen belts. There's the Van Allen belts. So if the Earth is here, and these Van Allen belts are glowing out here, there's a series of 3. They found a new Van Allen belt, and I think that there's more. I know that there's more. If you look at the math here, this shows that there's more Van Allen belts. So it's predictive, and the predictive capacity shows that. So let's see what we got in store. I'll pull up the news hour. Rick said he had to go. He's got to get help with the work. He's helping build, which is fine, because we got to teach anybody, whoever's willing to listen. 11/21/2020. Starting Facebook up. Close this out. Going to Geometric View News. All right. This looks cool. A new understanding of ionic interactions with graphene and water. I hear a whole bunch of stuff happening here in this arena right now. Graphene's big. There's some discoveries, some new discoveries. It's all on how you stack the crystals, I think. Okay, this is from physics.org. Phys.org. A research team led by Northwest University engineers and Argonne National Laboratory researchers have uncovered new findings into the role of ionic interaction within graphene and water. The insights could form the design of new energy-efficient electrodes for batteries or provide the backbone ionic materials for neuromorphic computer applications. Yes! I have an episode on neuromorphic engineering. You can check us out on the Geometric View, neuromorphic engineering and electroneuromorphic engineering. It's all fun. I don't know, it's crazy. But anyway, check that out. Okay, so known for possessing extraordinary properties from mechanical strength to electric conductivity to wetting transparency, graphene plays an important role in many environmental and energy applications, such as water desalination, electrochemical energy storage, and energy harvesting. Water-mediated electrostatic interactions drive a chemical process behind these technologies, making the ability to quantify the interactions between graphene ions and charged molecules vitally important in order to design more efficient and effective iterations. Every time you have interactions with the ions in matter, the medium is very important. Water plays a vital role in mediating interactions between ions, blah, 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 blah. So using computer model simulations at Northwest Engineering X-ray reflectivity experiments at Argonne, the research team investigated the interactions between 2 oppositely charged ions in different portions in water confined between 2 graphene surfaces. They found that the strength of the interaction was not equivalent when the ions' positions were interchanged. This break of symmetry, which the researchers dubbed non-reciprocal interactions, is a phenomenon not previously predicted by electrostatic theory. The researchers also found that the interactions between oppositely charged ions became repulsive when one ion inserted into the graphene layers, and the other was absorbed at the interface. From our work, one can conclude that the water structure alone near interfaces cannot determine the effective electrostatic interactions between ions. Okay. This non-symmetrical water polarization affects our understanding of ion differentiation mechanisms, such as ion selectivity and ion specificity. These research reveal another layer to complexities. Okay, so what is it? Come on, it makes you read forever. Graphene is a regular surface, but the findings can help us explain electrostatic interactions in more complex molecules like proteins. We know that what's inside the proteins and electrostatic charges outside of it matters. This work gives us new opportunity to explore and look at these important interactions. Interesting. Space DNA. All right, so what else do we got here? Oh, other people are starting to post on here. It's usually only me. Okay. What is it? There is a mysterious bubble rising in the Milky Way. Yeah. Fermi bubbles. Those are awesome. So yeah, there's that same geometry. There's a Squatterman. We could have got a charge in the center of the Earth, and we saw the Squatterman from way out here. Day and night. Night and day. Just looking out towards the Milky Way. Totally could happen. And then you see the ring around it. The ring around it. Squatterman. Okay, so another one here from phys.org, a technique to overdope graphene based on the Van Hoven singularity. It's a cool one. Check it out if you want. Here's some cool sonographs, I want to call it. Sound waves. Cool, you can see the music and the different sound waves it creates. It's fun. Sides of music and sounds. Okay. There we go. Back to my home. All right. So hopping back in here with the geometric view news. Okay. This device puts music in your head, no headphones required. That right there, that is not good. Yeah, they're finally coming out with the technology. It's been around from the 70s or even earlier, but this company here, they're about to push what they're already putting it out, and you can buy it, and that's freaky. Let's check that out. Right here, futuristic device from Israeli firm puts music in your head without telephones. Or sorry, without headphones. I didn't eat yet. Futuristic device. So let's click on that and see what that's about. Sound beaming 3D technology from Novito Systems tracks ear and sends its audio using ultrasonic waves, creating personal listening pockets. Ultrasonic waves. Man, that doesn't sound healthy. Imagine a world where you could move around in your own personal sound bubble. You listen to your favorite tunes, play loud computer games, watch a movie, or get navigated directions in your car, all without disturbing those around you. No thanks. That's the possibility. You can do that with headphones. That's the possibility presented by sound beaming, a futuristic new audio technology from Novito Systems. Yep. Boom. Check that article out. No thanks. Actually, I do want to try it. But yeah, they're talking about it's really weird when you use it. I would assume it to be super weird. Close this article. It's taken forever, the Facebook today. Do-doot, do-doot. So I'll go to for a minute. So that wants to upload. It's fine. All sorts of fun stuff. Alright, let me go back and see if that's open. Let's see what else is. Invisible air rivers in the sky have been leaving giant holes in the Antarctic ice. What? We talked about this a little bit in the last episode, but never got to the article. It appeared in 1973, seemingly out of nowhere. A hole in the sea ice off the coast of Antarctica. But this was no ordinary hole. It was so big, it could swallow California. The mysterious opening remained in place for the following 3 winters. It then seemed to largely disappear before emerging again in 2017 with a giant maw the size of Maine. This giant hole, with a sometimes state-sized apatite, is what's called a polynia, an area of open water surrounded by sea ice, kind of like the opposite of an iceberg. Polynia. Wow. Polynia. Cool word. But the mysterious Weddell Polynia occurs above the oceanic plateau of Maud Rise in the Weddell seawaters of the Southern Ocean. Is a rare extreme example of this environmental phenomena. Why it opens up so dramatically and yet so frequently has long puzzled scientists. This last year, researchers suggested that it required the coincidence of a range of climate anomalies, all coming together at the same time for the Weddell Polynia to open up with such abandon. Another study from 2019 led the atmospheric scientist Dana Francis proposed one such anomaly was scars from severe cyclones produced by atmospheric circulation, which can pull floating sea ice in opposite directions and away from the eye of the storm. This is awesome. Creating the giant opening, so it's like Earth spots instead of sunspots. Francis, now a senior scientist at Khalifa University, has just led a new study that sheds light on another related contributor to the phenomenon that has been overlooked, and now atmospheric rivers of warm, moist air. In the new research, Francis and her team analyzed atmospheric data going back to the 70s and found that these rivers in the sky likely played a crucial role in the formation of the Weddell Polynias in the 1973 and 2017, with strong persistent flows evident in the days preceding both occurrences. Wow. Oh. 17, that's a big year. A lot happened. I was surprised to see an almost immediate melt in the sea ice covered by the atmospheric rivers during the coldest months of the year in Antarctica, Francis told Nature Middle East. Researchers say the atmospheric circulation transported a belt of warm, moist air all the way down from coast of South America to the polar region, inducing melting through a combination of effects, including the release of heat in the air mass, a localized greenhouse effect created by water vapor, and contributions to cyclone dynamics. Cyclone dynamics. See, now these are what I was talking about with Ethan Clark on his interview as these plasma tubes. These are plasma tubes. So this is science actually talking about it even more, and biology here. Biologists. Given both atmospheric rivers and cyclones are predicted to increase in severity with global warming. The strange opening off the coast of Antarctica is something we might observe more often, but we'll have to wait and see. The findings are reported in Science Advances. So plasma tubes, that's these. Oops. Here. Plasma tubes floating above the Earth. Hisslers and whistlers and warblers and choruses and the geometry of helicon physics that we talk about in these episodes so often are responsible for creating the dynamics of these rivers, these atmospheric rivers, these plasma tubes in the ionosphere. So cool. That's awesome. That's a good article. Oh, what do we got here? That looks just like Walter Russell. His two cones come together. Physicists developed efficient modem for a future quantum internet. That looks really good. Phys.org. November 5th, 2020. The first quantum revolution brought about semiconductor electronics, the laser, and finally the internet. The second coming quantum revolution promises spy-proof communication, extremely precise quantum sensors, and quantum computers for previously unsolvable computing tasks. But this revolution is still in its infancy. A central research object in the interference between local quantum devices and light quanta that enable the remote transmission of highly sensitive quantum information. The Otto Hahn Group Quantum Networks at the Max Planck Institute of Quantum Optics in Garching is researching such a quantum modem. This team has now achieved a first breakthrough in a relatively simple but highly efficient technology that can be integrated into existing fiber optic networks. The work is published this week. Badow. The corona pandemic is a daily reminder of how important the internet has become. Once a byproduct of basic physical research has radically changed our culture. Could a quantum internet become the next major innovation out of physics? Yeah, they've been talking about this quantum internet for a long time. So yeah, check that article out if you're interested. Plasma tubes in the Earth, magnetosphere confirmed. Why this discovery is significant. That's probably the same article. 23-year-old. So yeah, here's the article right here, 2015, about these plasma tubes. That's pretty cool. Definitely good stuff. Controversial new theory says human consciousness is electromagnetic. Popularmechanics.com. I would tie that in and yeah, pull it right into the Birkeland currents and into the field aligned currents and also meandering currents, you know, I'd say Dougherty currents, all sorts of different things. Scott currents. There needs to be names for all of these. Everything is filamentary. Filamentary, not elementary. Everything is elementary, dear Watson. No, everything is filamentary, dear Watson. The mystery of the platypus deepens with the discovery of its bioluminescent fur. No. Has bioluminescent fur? Dude, these guys are sweet. What if all the creatures used to glow? And we lost our glow. Visible light. UV light unfiltered. UV light yellow filter. Okay. This recent discovery has not been found in any other monotreme species, and it has scientists wondering, have we been overlooking an ancient world of fluorescent fur? Biofluorescence has now been observed in placental New World flying squirrels, marsupial and New World possums, and the monotreme platypus of Australia and Tasmania. These taxia, inhabiting 3 continents and a diverse array of ecosystems, represent the major lineages of Mammalia. Wow. Over the centuries, bioluminescence has been reported in various plants, fungi, fruits, flowers, insects, and birds. It's only recently, however, that scientists have begun to actively track down examples in the animal kingdom. Many discoveries to date were simply happenstance. 2015, for instance, scientists chanced upon the first fluorescent sea turtle while looking for glowing coral. 2 years later, the first fluorescent frog was found unexpectedly, and the team advanced. This is because people started carrying UV flashlights in the field, yeah, because they're looking for UPR lights and all sorts of other stuff. So this is technology brought this in. So yeah, take your flashlights out there and go find what glows. Among mammals, the first example of bioluminescence was reported in 1983 in the Virginia possum, the only marsupial in North America, but it wasn't until 2017, by complete accident, that a researcher uncovered something similar. Wow, cool. And North American flying squirrels, okay, which are categorized as placental mammals. Wow, I didn't know flying squirrels were placental animals. Oh, yeah, they are. While conducting a night survey of lichens, researchers were amazed to turn their LED torch on a bright bubblegum pink flying squirrel. One of the other things the possum and flying squirrel share in common is their nocturnal lifestyles. This is also when biofluorescence is at its strongest, which suggests that the trait might be common among mammals most active at night, dusk, or dawn. Like flying squirrels and opossums in North America, platypuses in Australia are also active at night. However, they are separated from these other animals by some 150 million years of evolution, going back to it being dark and us living in the ground. Relatively little attention has been paid to biofluorescence in Australia's mammals, but they also have glowing fur. Cool. It's still too early to say what advantage the trait might give nocturnal mammals. Our species sizes are too small, although scientists have a few ideas. However, the bandicoots found by Reinhorn and ground-dwelling mammals and their fluorescence may make them stick out. Interesting. Cool. So yeah, that's another fun article. Here's another gentleman. I was planning on doing a whole presentation with all that. Heartbeat mechanics and the science of its pause, black holes, galactic center. It's like a hop vibration, twistor. This is an actual science. Crystals at the Earth's core power its magnetic field. Dang, son. That sounds cool. I just read that, thought it said crystal meth at the Earth's core powers its magnetic field, because crystals is above magnetic, crystal magnetic. Anyway. Whether or not a planet has a magnetic field goes a long way towards determining whether or not it is habitable. Whereas Earth has a strong magnetosphere that protects life from harmful radiation and keeps solar wind from stripping away its atmosphere, planets much like Mars no longer do. Hence why it went from being a world with a thicker atmosphere and liquid water on the surface to a cold, desiccated place it is today. For this reason, scientists have long sought to understand what powers Earth's magnetic field until now. The consensus has been there was a dynamo effect dynamo effect created by the Earth's liquid outer core, spinning in opposite directions in Earth's rotation, blah, blah, blah. However, new research from the Tokyo Institute of Technology suggests that it may actually be due to the presence of crystallization in the Earth's core. This is from universalsci.com. He has the team, blah, 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 blah. The core is mostly iron, some nickel, contains 10% of light alloys such as silicon, oxygen, sulfur, carbon, hydrogen, and other compounds. We think that many alloys are simultaneously present, but we don't know the proportion of each candidate element. Okay, let's get down to the bottom. The study not only provides evidence to help resolve the so-called new core heat paradox, it also may help advance our understanding of what conditions were like during the formation of Earth and the early solar system. Basically, if silicon and oxygen form silical crystals of silicon dioxide in the outer core over time, then sooner or later this process will stop once the core runs out of these elements. Okay. When this happens, we can expect the Earth's magnetic field will suffer, which will be a drastic implication for life on Earth. This research may help geophysicists to determine how and when other planets like Mars and Mercury may have had magnetic fields, and possibly leads to ideas of how they could be powered up again. It could even help exoplanet hunting science teams determine which exoplanets have magnetospheres, which would allow us to find out which extrasolar winds could be habitable. Oh, I like that. Okay. Good ending. All right. Well, I don't know if there's much more. There's a hysteresis loop. Yeah, that's about it. All right. Well, that concludes it for today. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I'm going to put my Skype back on. Close out of this. Say goodbye to everybody. Put my video back on. Stop sharing. Okay, see if I can put my video on at all. Video. There we go. All right, well, I just wanted to say goodbye, everyone. Thank you for being here for episode 43, season 4. If you find this content, if you like it or you're into it, please consider donating. I do this all myself. It's a one-man operation. Sometimes I have guests, sometimes I have people, but yeah, it is a group effort to some degree. But yeah, I do all of everything else, including the music and editing and everything else. So it would help gratefully if you just the best way to donate would be just giving it on PayPal. PayPal me goldenscaling@gmail.com. Money, and like you're giving money to a friend. Doesn't cost anybody anything, and maybe a one time, a couple times, I don't know. My PayPal's not even connected. I'm not even trying to get money, but I do enjoy doing these episodes and getting this information out to people. So if there is support, I really appreciate it. Thank you guys. All right. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you next week. Take care. Peace out. And remember, magical turtle. The geometric view is a Love is Watching product. Love is Watching being. Thank you for doing that. Keep your eyeballs out. Pay attention. There's a lot going down this year. Be vigilant. Be mindful. Be insightful. Be loving. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being kind. Share the love. Spread the love. become the love. Amen. Thank you for joining us on episode 43, Turtles All the Way Down, Season 4. See you next week.
beautiful. Eyes all over the wall, eyes all over your body. Can I just see straight through with transparent golden scaling? The largest of the edifice embark on this because this is the journey. The journey is life. Take hold. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. There's nothing to do. Thy hand shall choose the wrong passage, shall you chop it off into doors? Shout out for the glories of God. Shout out. Shout out for the glories of God. Shout out. Shout out for the glories of God. Shout out. Shout out for the glories of God. Shout out. Shout out for the glories of God. Shout out. Shout out for the glories of God. Shout out. Join us in the fight for Christ, in the fight to save lives. Surprise, submersible, so fast, the first, the last of baptism, need to say more. Pay attention like the marrow in your bones, arrow in your back, arrow in your lungs, zero into the fact, tertiary Christian neurons, synapses and narrow entrance into eternity. I'm a courier of charismatic attitude, monometers even neater, it might even be fun. Cider indeed, need nerds, you need nerds, need a virtue, need to be a reason. Feasibility to be a reason to be clean and sober, keys, open doors, signs of directions. Be the carrier of candlesticks, the man who brought you change. Every second you ride, until in your ribbon, you pivot, potential, you could be cat, could be cold, could be copycat, could be copy corpse, could be Schrodinger's best, could be Michael Racker, Mackie Normo, open-minded, itsy bitsy, freaking huge, a universal supermassive aspect of attached awareness. Aware of this all? Collaborative consumption. Are you aware of this all? Collaborative consumption. The new thing consumption. Collaborative consumption. Consumption. Get up now! Out of the boat! Drop! Where did this up? We don't got about a girl, but about a not about a goddess spirit. Get up, what's up? Get out, chapter. We're playing on the head on what's up. I'm in search of, I'm in earth love, I'm in living life, I'm in living color, I'm in air drop, I'm an earth thing, I'm an earth thing, I'm an earth thing, I'm an earth thing.